Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1938. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today, I'm just north of the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver, BC, with a very special guest by the name of Geoff Chrysler, a good car name. Geoff, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I sure am.
All right, we're going to have some fun today. Now, before I get started, is there one little thing that maybe most people don't know about you, Geoff?
Yeah, there's lots of things people probably don't know about me, but well, besides the car stuff, I'm also an artist, I'm a musician, I'm into meditation. Yeah.
Very cool. Now, Did you ever do art? And let me ask you this, what kind of art do you do?
As a kid, I was the art kid growing up. I was a painter and a drawer. I got into airbrushing when I was about 10 or 11, and especially airbrushing actual cars and car scenes and stuff like that. So,
very cool. And
yeah.
You mentioned music. Is there an instrument you like to play?
I started out as a drummer. I became a guitarist and singer over the years.
And a singer too. Wow. Multifaceted, multi-talented guy we've got here today. So that's very cool. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. We're going to talk about the business you do because it's very, very cool. Geoff Chrysler is the owner of Rightway Heritage Trimming. For over 20 years, he's been specializing in British and European auto upholstery, working on as a distinguished auto trimmer, pattern maker, and upholsterer for some of the leading restoration shops around the world. He founded Rightway Heritage Trimming 6 years ago and has been creating a reputable name for himself, working on notable classics. Geoff also produces a full line of the most Concours-accurate Austin Healey upholstery and trim components available today, and he sells those to customers worldwide. And in his spare time, he builds scale models and works on his Austin Healey 100 restoration. That's one of my bucket list cars. It is his second complete restoration because he built a MGB a few years ago. So very cool. Can't wait to see that 100 when it's all done. We'll be back in just a minute to talk with Geoff, but first a word from our valued sponsor. So give them a little listen. Keep seatbelts on. We'll be right back. Covercraft's newest 5-layer indoor cover is especially engineered for indoor use, providing maximum dust protection when your vehicle's stored in the garage. Your 5-layer indoor cover is custom tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form, and fit with the quality and attention to detail that's been their standard since 1965. Even if your vehicle is always inside, dust and fallout can damage the paint, and an extra layer of soft, breathable material protects from accidental bumps and rubs. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected with a Covercraft cover, custom fit to fit the car like a glove. And I have a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com, you'll get 10% off your order plus free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Simply use the code YEAH, YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green's at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. All right, Geoff, we're back. So let's dive a little deeper. Let's go back through your history of working on upholstery. You mentioned musician, artist, singer, but you went down this path of recreating or bringing back old car interiors. What led you into this career path?
So my entire upbringing revolved around Austin Healeys. My father was one of the leading Healey restorers growing up and was restoring them not only for himself, but for customers around the world, well, around North America. So there was always a couple Healey projects in the garage. He was one of the founding members of the National Concours Guidelines and Standards back in the 80s, which is still going today and evolving. So I grew up around those cars and restoring them to a really high standard and fell in love with it. I mean, our family car, when I was growing up in the early 80s, our family car was a 65 MGB GT that we drove through the winter and everything else.
Wow.
And Dad had a Healey and Mom had a Bug-Eye Sprite. And
oh my gosh.
I was just immersed in those cars all my life. And my brother never really got into it. He kind of went the opposite way, but I loved it and got right into it. So when I was in my early 20s, 22, I moved out west to BC. We grew up in southern Ontario.
Oh, so in Ontario, they were driving cars like that in the winter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Through deep snow and everything else.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But, they were a dime a dozen back then. So, yeah, nobody said anything other. But so I moved to the West Coast when I was, 22, 23, and was kind of bouncing around jobs. I had done numerous trades. I'd been an auto mechanic for, when I graduated high school. And this upholstery company had just started in North Vancouver called Heritage Upholstery. They're also BAS Jaguar. It's two companies under the same roof. But my dad kind of became their big customer because they were just starting to do Austin Healeys.
Oh.
He was helping them out with patterns and stuff like that. And he said, I had gone traveling, backpacking through Europe, and I came back, needed a job, kind of starting over.
Back to reality, as young people do.
4 months of traveling. And he said, you should contact them. They're starting to do Healeys, and the Healeys really well, and they could use somebody who knows what they're talking about. And so I had never done upholstery before, but I knew the cars really well. And so they hired me, and I did basic apprenticeship in my first year. And within a year and a half, I was production manager. And I took to it really well. I kind of incorporated all of my artistic, creative talents and put it, just made sense. And the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since.
Well, you're a fairly young guy because one of the things that is happening in the collector car world is we see all these older people and they're aging out, they're retiring, they're passing away. And the big fear is that there's going to be nobody to come up behind them to do this kind of work. And I know that's a big statement because there are people and there's some young people, but it seems to be harder and harder as I talk to shops and so forth. May I ask how old you are?
I'm 42.
Okay, well, you look like you're about like you're about 30, so you look very young for a 42-year-old, but still from my side of the fence, that's pretty young. What's your favorite thing about what you do in your job with your trim shop? Because you opened the shop up 5-6 years ago, right? You put your own shingle out?
It was back in 2013. I kind of branched out on my own, and then and I've moved around a few times with it. But
what's your favorite thing about this? Because you've really niched in British cars mostly. I assume you could do upholstery for probably any car, but British cars, and you're doing your own Austin Healey. Obviously, that goes back to your history with your dad, and the hundreds are my favorite era. Is yours what 55, 56, somewhere in there?
Mine's a 5300.
Oh, it's an early one.
One of the early BN1. And one of the last cars built that year, we think.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, when you think about what you do, what is so passionate for it? Because this is a career of passion.
Oh, for sure. Well, first off, the Healeys in particular, and some of the Jags, I just think they're the most beautiful cars ever made. That whole era of cars, I think nothing is going to come close to that for me. And what I love about it, the upholstery is kind of the last step of any restoration. So by the time those cars come to me, they're all beautifully painted and the chrome's done, and I'm getting to add this last, piece to finish it off. And there's just immense satisfaction in being that final step and seeing the finished product. And it hasn't grown old yet. Like, I still love it. And, I'm getting new projects all the time and interesting rare cars popping up here and there. And, it's great.
Well, plus you get to fulfill people's dreams, because none of these old cars are anything anybody needs. They're all wants for everyone. And for so many people, it's reliving, like this 100-year building. It's reliving your youth and your dad and all of that.
For sure.
For me, it started with a 49 MGTC that my dad had. I still remember the smell inside of that car, the big, tufted seats in the back. Tuft is probably the wrong word, but the rolled or ribbed.
Beaded, yeah.
Yeah, beaded. Yeah, there we go. And it probably wasn't tufted. That would have been a weird interior for an MG. And the dash, which in his car, instead of wood, was engine turned, which was probably something somebody did along the way. I don't know. Maybe they came that way, but I was...
that was a common thing on those early T series, some of the earlier ones from the 40s.
Yeah. It was really a cool thing. So, and then the smell and that leather or fabric, whatever you put inside of a car, it kind of brings the whole thing together. So it's got to be immensely satisfying. What are some of the more unique cars that you've done interiors for? A lot of them.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Just like a year ago, I recognized that dashboard you're talking about. I did a 37 MG L2.
Oh my gosh!
Which is it's a similar body style to the T series, but it had an inline six in it. And being 1937, it was lots of neat features like that turned dash and of course right-hand drive and just all the neat features. I did a Mazda Cosmo. Really, that was Mazda's first car, basically in the 60s, and it had the rotary engine in it. And I did, like an AC Asica and an AC Ace, which are pretty neat rarities. And I did an Amphicar once, which are kind of
the boat cars,
unique. Yeah, the boat cars, and of course all sorts of Jags and Healeys and MGs over the years. That's kind of my specialty, and Porsches and Mercedes as well. I did a 37 Packard a couple of years ago, and
big car.
That was definitely the biggest car I've done. And there's been
a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff. Now, obviously, an inspiration in your life has got to be your father, because growing up around a dad who restored cars and was known for that has to be a massive inspiration. Is that really your driving inspiration?
He'd definitely be the biggest one. I've had a few, but I mean, we were working together all my life. Like he sadly passed away in 2012 suddenly from cancer, but we were going to go into business together at that point, and that kind of changed things and sent me off on my own. But after all of that had happened, I moved back out west on my own with my own business now, and I just launched my website. And when I landed on Vancouver Island and started getting established, within my first week of arriving here, I got a phone call from this fellow named Rudy Konachek. And Rudy is seasoned veteran here on the island. He's retired now, but he was still going when he called me. And he specialized in 300 SL restorations and had done over 100 in his lifetime. He was one of the leading guys to do 300 SLs. And he said, I'm on your website right now, and we've been trying to find another upholsterer to keep up with our workload of classic cars. And he's like, you do fabulous work, and you need to come over. And he gave me this huge tour of his facility. And it was just, small group of really high skilled craftsmen, these amazing cars. And he specialized in 300 SLs, but he also did, Ferraris and high end, classics. And just said, start with this AC Asica and then move on with this. And I worked for him, for like 4.5 years. He was like my 90% of my work came from him doing all these exotic cars. But he was, well respected, really high end, and, well recognized at Pebble Beach and all of these big concours. They all know a Rudy car when they see one, because he goes the extra mile with every detail, and really brought my game up substantially and changed my whole my eyes for detail. So he was a huge influence, definitely.
You're very fortunate to have some amazing people in your life to help drive you forward. That's very cool. I mentioned earlier about young people going into this trade. If somebody was interested in doing this and said, you know what, that sounds kind of interesting, how would you advise them? How would you direct them?
To get into this business?
Yes.
Well, it's got to be something you're passionate about, obviously. And depending on where you live in the world, I know certainly there's areas in the States and Australia and England that still have, you can go to school for automotive upholstery and learn this stuff firsthand and get a certificate. We don't have that option up here in Canada. There is no school specifically for that. So I basically did an apprenticeship without any certification, basically.
Hands-on,
literally. But that's how you start. You just, it's a case of, for me, dissecting the old and seeing how it was made and then recreating that. And I've always been good at that. That's just restoration work, right? And whether it's upholstery or building a house or a car, it's that same kind of process and really looking at how they did it as you dissect it and recreating it. So, of course, I had to learn how to sew along the way, which, again, that is just a lot of hands-on trial and error. But if you're passionate about it, if you want to do it, you're going to figure out how.
Sure.
and get better. So
right. And go out and seek those experts in the field and see if you can start as apprentice or even sweeping the floors or just being around them and observing.
Exactly.
In restoring old cars today, obviously the big challenge is to do it like it was. Or in many cases, we see a lot of cars, the term over-restored, but cars are done even better because we have things today that they didn't have back then, equipment and so forth. But when you're restoring the cars you're doing, are you trying to, you mentioned this earlier, you're trying to emulate so that it is as accurate and close to it? Is that what you're trying to do? And then when you get a car that you've maybe never done before, how much research goes into figuring out, okay, what was here? Because some of these cars are pretty rough, I would assume, when they're started, and you're trying to figure out what's the right color, the right texture, the right kind of fabrics. And even the leathers these days are much better. They're more high quality than leathers back in the day because we just have better technology.
Yeah, no, it's most definitely my personal agenda here is to try and make it as accurate as possible. So I coming from a concours background, I am really trying to emulate the way that they did it back then. That includes using hand tacks and stuff instead of just staples, because you could just use staples and it's much quicker, but it has a different look to it. And that goes for everything. And don't get me wrong, like there's better upholsterers than I out there who are totally custom and use all new materials and don't care about how they used to do it. This is how we do it now, and it's much better, hot rodders and stuff like that, which I do a little bit of that, and that's kind of where I'm growing my skills. But certainly with the Austin Healey kits that I produce and most of what I've built my name on is being extremely accurate, concours accurate, and doing it the way they used to. And that includes even the materials. I've sourced some of these companies out there that have come back, like Connolly Leather is back, and you can get the proper stuff in the original colors, and here's the catalog. And so, and same thing with the vinyls and the carpets and that. I've been able to source the proper original stuff, and they're still making it in a lot of cases. So, well,
it seems like the collector car industry is as strong as it ever has been,
sure
and
is.
growing, and younger people starting to come into that fold and be interested in it and keep it revived and keep it going. We're going to take a short break, and I want to talk about maybe a big challenge you face in your life. Could be your career or your life. So keep that thought in mind, and we'll be right back. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions. Ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. Cars Yeah is proud to support our veterans, which is why I've teamed up with our nonprofit partner, TechForce Foundation, through its Veterans at Work Military Transition Campaign. The tech shortage is very real, and our country needs skilled, qualified techs to keep our cars, trucks, airplanes, and fleets rolling. When so many vets build their skills in maintaining and servicing vehicles when deployed, TechForce helps transition those skills to jobs as professional technicians when they come home. Learn more about TechForce Foundation and its Veterans at Work Military Transition Fund at techforce.org today. So let's talk about this big challenge, big failure, something that really kind of pushed you up against a wall, if you will. But I'm more interested in how you learned from that so you could move forward in a very positive way. So take us through one of those trials and obstacle parts of your life.
I'd say most definitely biggest trial obstacle was when my father passed away. Leading up to that, I was working for a company in Vancouver, and it was basically an upholstery factory, and we were making kits for, all sorts of German and British sports cars, Porsches and Jaguars and MGs and Healeys and stuff. But I just worked at a desk, at a work table, trimming seats and producing panel kits all day, every day, 40 hours a week. And it was pretty monotonous. You don't get any variety. And, I was not a sewer then, and I was just a trimmer. And I was enjoying the work, but I was getting tired of it. And my dad and I were talking literally 3 or 4 times a week on the phone because he had just retired his full-time job and was going to start doing the Healey restorations full-time in his retirement. And him and his metal guy and his painter were hunting a place in Ontario, and I was going to move back, and we were all going to go into business together and just do Healey's high end. And then, his diagnosis came out of nowhere, and within 3 months of it, he was gone. And suddenly we were all and he had like 4 Healeys on the go for various customers in various states of restoration that we were just like, okay, now we
what?
have to hand those off and have them completed by other people. And, I moved everything back to Ontario from my home in Vancouver. I just kind of left my life in Vancouver and moved back home for a couple of years, helped my mom deal with everything. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure where to go. And I kind of started doing home renovations and stuff for a little while and wasn't sure what I wanted to do with myself. But throughout that, I inherited my father's entire garage of tools, and didn't want to see that go unused, and decided to go into business for myself. And his restoration company's name was Rightway Restorations. So, and I used to be working for Heritage Upholstery and Trim, so I decided to call my company Rightway Heritage Trimming, and launched a website and just started. Within weeks of launching that website, I got a job there in Ontario working for Diamond Upholstery and Trim, which is a high-end trim shop north of Toronto there. And then started missing the West Coast and moved out here. And it's just, when I moved to the island, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was kind of like, I can do upholstery, so I can do boats, I can do cars. I'll get by. I'll figure it out, And Rudy called me like that within the first week. And suddenly I'm like doing, it's like more than I ever dreamed of, Sure. And what did I learn? So many things. I learned how to run a business, having never done it before, and how to persevere, how to just stay focused and keep doing what I love, and learn how to say no to things that don't suit me too, as far as jobs go. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, no doubt your dad is very proud, looking down and smiling at what you've done. It's a good testament to just sit down and do it and start doing it, right? And get her done, as they say.
That's right.
Yeah, just getting it done. If you look ahead to your business in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, is there kind of a bucket list? Maybe this could be the kinds of cars you're working on, or specific cars, or where you would like to take your business, how you'd like to grow it?
Yeah, obviously I want to continue. The Healeys are going to be kind of a bread and butter thing, and eventually I want to hire some employees because it's still just me doing this all myself at this point.
Wow.
But Yeah, so I'd like to in the next year or two, because it's getting busier all the time, hire an unemployee, if not two, and just to start doing the Healeys and start doing more British cars as kits. And then I would like to continue my growth as an upholsterer and start doing some newer like hot rods and things like that, and things that are going to expand my skill level. And I'd love to start getting into more high-end stuff like old Ferraris and stuff like that too. But it's just about getting my name around.
Oh, exactly.
I've done a few when I worked for Rudy that were great experiences, but yeah.
Nice to have his name on your resume list for sure. Do most of the cars come to you and you do the upholstery, or do you do the seats and send them to the restoration shop?
Yeah, it's a combination. I do like local stuff obviously comes to me, and I can trim out their whole car here. But much of my Healey work is people from all over the world, and I will produce, panel kits and carpet sets and seat covers and that. And they can send me their seats and I'll fully restore them, fully trimmed, and they can bolt them into their car sort of thing. So, yeah.
Wow, how fun is that? So let's talk about a special vehicle in your life. You talked about that MG restored. You're working on the current Austin Healey 100. Is there one special vehicle in your life that really stands out?
Well, yeah, certainly the Austin Healey 100. My dad was a specialist in the Healey hundreds, and like I say, I just think they're the prettiest, one of the prettiest designs ever made, with that windshield that slants down.
Oh, yeah. That's like the coolest thing.
Two-seater cockpit, and yeah. And so to finally own one. So when Dad passed away, he had a 53 Austin Healey 100 in Healey blue, and it was just the iconic, original design. But he said, like, sell the car, you'll need the money to help pan things out. And so we had to sell the car. And I had never had a sports car of my own up until that point. But in the sale of his car, it kind of got divvied up between my brother and Mom and I. And I took that money and I bought myself a Mark 1 MGB. And it was an original Survivor car, a 64. Yeah. And I fully restored it to be like a concours level, using all its original parts, and enjoyed it. And then after a few years, I ended up seeing a Healey 100, entry level, because Healeys are a lot more expensive than an MGB is. MGB, I have a history with the MGB. I had purchased one when I was 13 for $500 with the intent of restoring it, and never got past the metal and paint stage. I ended up selling it when I was 19 so I could move out west. And so it was kind of an unfinished dream. So when I saw this thing and it was like affordable, and so I bought it, and I was able to fully restore it and kind of fulfill that childhood dream, and then sell it to get my first Healey 100. So now I'm restoring basically the car that Dad had when he passed away. And so it's kind of a legacy.
Yeah, sounds cool. Do you know a guy named Jim Smalley?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, he's practically a neighbor of mine. I could almost, if I could hit a golf ball, I could almost hit it to his house.
Yeah.
He lives just down the road from me. He's got some really beautiful Austin Healeys.
He sure does. Yeah, he's got 100S there, yeah.
Yeah, some really nice stuff. I figured you probably knew who he was. I'm going to be your automotive psychologist today, okay?
All right.
I'm going to crawl into your skull. If you were manifest as a vehicle, what would you be, but more importantly, why?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think I'd probably be something like an old 50s Land Rover.
Oh, okay. You went somewhere I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty versatile. I can, I'm made for tricky situations. I'm reliable, and I'm going to keep going. And I think that's a good representation.
There you go. Yeah, I like the way you thought that through. Very nice. Is there a way you like to perhaps give back or help others in the automotive sector?
Yeah, every year I sponsor the local British Car Club and Austin Healey clubs and National Austin Healey Club for their conclave that happens every year. So, and that's, I sponsor them with, cash donations, but also I'll donate, I'll make these intricate vinyl tool bags and stuff like that they can raffle off at their shows and end of year parties. And so, yeah, I've done that. Actually, a year or so ago, I was approached by a retirement community home here in Victoria that they purchased an old 47 Dodge and wanted to kind of do a basic restoration, not to running condition, just cosmetic, and have it on display at this retirement community home. And, this little area, and people can go sit in it if they want. And it's got a park bench next to it, like an old phone booth. And so, but it was all volunteers, local volunteers who are in the restoration business who did this. So I did the seats and stuff for that, and all the local guys chipped in. And yeah,
some nostalgia for the elderly folks that live there to kind of think back in time. How nice. That's a cool idea. That's pretty great. Now, is there a book you've read that you'd like to share that you think others would enjoy reading?
So just last year, my favorite new book is Healey, The Men and the Machines. It was just debuted last year, and it's kind of the most in-depth history of Donald Healey and his son Geoff, and just their whole history and career, and the cars, and not just the Austin Healey, but everything that they did. And I feel like there should be a movie made from this, because Donald is incredible.
Well, incredible history, that's for sure. John Nikas wrote that book. He's been a guest here on Cars, and it's a pretty amazing book, and it goes well in depth into the history, much more. There's things in there I learned I had no idea. Yeah, and I love the cover of it. It's got a great cover of an old 100, I believe, on the cover. So, kind of cool. Yeah, without the bumpers, too, which I kind of like it when the bumpers are gone. It looks more sporting, since I like cars. Yeah, John's a great guy, definitely. All right, I'm going to let you go on the ultimate drive here. I have a magic scepter, which allows you to pick any vehicle, any person, living or deceased, and anywhere that you would be taking this ultimate drive. So what does that ultimate drive look like for you, Geoff?
Oh, I think it would have to be driving the Mil Miglia. I'd say Sterling Moss.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Hold on.
And, and of course, and he did drive for Healey a number of times. He had in a 100S. So to see him in a 100S and just hang on for dear life, and hear about his life along the way, that would be fantastic.
That sounds like a pretty cool drive to me. I think so. Well, you've taken us on a wonderful drive today, and I'm happy that you and I connected. Before I let you go, could you share a parting wisdom, thought, advice, inspiration, a mantra, a quote?
Yeah. Well, let me think. I guess just dream big, because the more you focus on your dreams, the more likely they are to come true. And never stop dreaming.
Dream big. Yeah. And you said something important there. The more you work on something, the more it becomes reality. So I always say, take that dream and make it a reality by actually doing it. Even if it's just a little bit each day, or it becomes a side hustle, you want to eventually do it. If you don't have the money to dedicate full time, just get started. It's kind of like a restoration. I had a guest on the show once to say, if you're getting overwhelmed by a restoration, just go out in the garage and do one little thing every day.
That's right. Yeah.
And over time, eventually, it'll all get done. Because sometimes these restoration projects can get a little bit overwhelming for us. So I love those words. Dream big. How can people learn more about Rightway Heritage Trim?
Well, I have a website, rightwayheritagetrim.com. And actually, I didn't even mention throughout this, I run a blog called A Detail Enthusiast, where I write articles with tons of detail photos of all the cars and stuff that I've been working on.
Nice.
And I even have a YouTube channel where I do kind of how-to videos of stuff I've been doing. So that's all through the website. You can get that.
Very cool. I'll put links to all these listeners on Geoff's show notes page. Geoff spells his name Geoff, the unique way. I had a good friend, Geoff, who is the guy who introduced me to my wife almost 40 years ago. So Geoff Griffin, I remember he spelled his name the same way, and I've known very few people, but it's Geoff, and then Chrysler. That's an easy one. I don't know how he got that car name. Maybe should have been Healey, but we'll take Chrysler today. That'll work.
Yeah.
Listeners, you can find everything on your show notes page. And I want to do a shout out to Rick Neville. Rick's the guy who introduced me to Geoff today. So he's a Healey guy. Rick, thank you for introducing me to Geoff. I get introduced to so many cool people by either past guests or friends of Cars Yeah, or listeners of Cars Yeah. So if you listeners know of somebody out there you think might make a great guest, or you think you might, get in touch with me. I'm easy to find. Mark at carsyeah.com. There you go. Geoff, thanks for being so generous today with your time, sharing your life, marvelous work that you do. I hope someday I can get a car restored and send the upholstery work to you. That would be pretty fun. Maybe an old 356, something I've always wanted. Those are pretty simple interiors. Until you and I
done lots of them.
Have you? There you go. They become really expensive though. If you find me an inexpensive one, let me know. But they become pricey like a lot of old cars. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Hey.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.